Okay, and you are live.
All right, thank you so much. I'd like to call the Budget and Finance Committee meeting to order. If we could please have a roll call.
Freeman,
Aye.
Amobian,
Aye.
Malik,
Aye.
Baylor,
Aye.
Lombardo. All committee members are present.
Okay, very good. And then if I could also have a motion to accept the minutes from the last meeting.
So move.
Second.
Thank you. We have a motion, a second. All in favor, please let it be known by saying aye.
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 All right, very, very good. And I'm looking here. I believe we have Tamika Rose with us. And we're going to be hearing today about the Arpa Violence Prevention Grants. And Miss Rose, I would like to turn it over to you if I could, please. Thank you.
Thank you. Good afternoon, Chairman Freeman and members of the Budget and Finance Committee. I'm going to attempt to share my screen. So let's see if I can do that correctly. Did it do? Are you seeing my screen?
Yes.
Okay. So I'm going to go from here. Okay. So I have like 10 different screens up. So what we have is I'm going to talk a little bit about the process of the American Rescue Plan Act dollars for the violence prevention programs. So what the process now is that the applicants, so any organization within the community, can review the notice of opportunity, which is on our website. They will then submit the application. From there, that application is reviewed by Guidehouse for eligibility. Guidehouse will rank the proposal as a low risk to the city, medium risk, or high risk. And that's based on how long they've been in practice, if their financials are in order, and how much money they're requesting. So that's basically, and if it's like if it's a violence prevention program, which we have a document that I believe I've shared with Dr. Joan Williams, and she can share with everyone. After that, the organizations are interviewed and scored by a review team. And that review team consists of myself, Sheena Fain, Pat Littlejohn, Robert DeJarnette, and Carla Chapman. And we've added Dr. Joan Williams going forward. Next, we present the recommendations from that group to the mayor's chief of staff and council leadership. From there, recommendations are sent to the mayor. The mayor will then approve or deny our recommendations, and then we will submit his approvals for contract, and then those individuals will receive an approval letter. So we have several applications that have been deemed eligible by Guidehouse for after-school programming or mentoring. The Vincent House is a program operated by a church that has ties with an elementary school on the east side of Akron, and they want to provide additional services there. They have requested to have funding go towards capital investments. However, we feel that that's just a little bit risky in this timeframe, but we are going to go ahead, if approved, go ahead and provide funding for the programming of after school time and mentoring. Guys and Gals Community Partnership, they've requested to extend their Hoop for Coop offerings and also do after school mentoring throughout the entire year instead of just at one point in time. Red Oak Behavioral Health Group is asking for funding for the eye care mentoring. Eye care mentoring used to be at the United Way. They have moved their services over to Red Oak Behavioral Health, and they are in partnership with the Akron Public Schools. Dreams Academy, this is a lofty goal here is to expand the services of Dreams Academy from just one location to every area in the city. We're going to work with Dreams Academy over the next 3 years, hopefully, to provide services throughout the entire city of Akron. Project Grad Akron has a program where they allow for mentoring and tutoring and self-awareness and development of young youth in our community. And then Fallen Fathers has a program where they are really taking a step back and doing some different changes in the community, where they are going to have OGs go out into the community and mentor youth and explain to them why going out and being in a gang or being involved in violent crime is not the way to go. And so that they will be mentored and have key performance metrics of making sure that they are not using drugs, that they are attending schools on a regular basis, and achieving academic success. And all of these programs are surrounded by providing those key performance indicators. Next, Building Safe Places, North Akron Community Development Corporation, People's Park. They submitted a proposal to enhance People's Park a little bit more and to have the youth in the community help develop that. And also Domestic Violence and Support Services. These are also eligible programs. What we have here is that Battered Women's Shelter and Victims Assistance Advocacy Program, their budgets were cut in the former administration's time in the White House. And so they were asking for additional funding to make sure that, because of the pandemic, a lot of women have been subject to abuse and they've needed somewhere to go. But because of the pandemic, the services were limited based on the rules that Summit County Public Health put in place, allowing them to have a certain number of women in there. But they want to make sure that women know that they are there for them to help, and they've allowed for different hotels and things of that nature to house women and provide shelter. Re-entering and mentoring. So we also have the Williams Challenge. They are a program where they will be utilizing funds to help those incarcerated in the juvenile youth system to help them re-enter the community in a more advantageous manner. And Mr. Frank Williams has a nice program that he does with the current Summit County Jail. And so he wants to replicate that here in the juvenile system. We also have technical assistance that programs that have applied, Big Brothers Big Sisters and the Alchemy Inc. And I forgot to put one on here is the South Street Ministries. They also applied for re-entry program around juveniles that are in the juvenile detention system. So we have a couple of more that have come through after Thanksgiving. And so we have some that have been deemed eligible by Guidehouse and awaiting internal review. We've also asked for, we've also extended the project and allowed for people to have time to apply until March 1st. So we will do the internal review after March 1st. But Rape Crisis Center, Solid Rock Christian Fellowship Baptist Church, Wealthy Staffing, Place Staffing, and the Olive Branch Initiative have also applied and are awaiting an internal review team. So I will stop sharing my screen now and ask if there are any questions from you all.
Okay, looking around here, I have a limited screen. I will first go to Mr. Malik.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chair, and thank you, Ms. Rose, for this helpful information.
Thank you.
I have a number of questions, so I'll ask a couple of them and then turn it over to my colleagues. So these initial applications that have been deemed eligible and have gone through the review process, what does the time frame look like in terms of providing the first round of funding? And how much funding do you anticipate from the, I think it's roughly, a dozen entities that you mentioned?
So in speaking with the Chief of Staff and Mayor Horgan, we have decided that to make sure that we don't set any organization up for failure, most of these proposals came in well over what their annual budgets were. And so we are going to award in total, the first round would probably be close to 1.3 million. So Dr. Williams does have the what we recommend that they receive, and we are in the process of getting these contracts out. But some programs will get $100,000 this year. Some will get 33,000. Some will get 90,000, 75,000. So we're not giving out millions of dollars. We're not directing this. And all of these programs will get a little bit of upfront. So maybe like $10,000 upfront, but then the rest will be reimbursement based, just so that we can make sure that they are accounting for the services that they are providing for under this said program. We want to make sure that they are not commingling any funds if they've received another grant from the CBDG or they have any other funding. We want to make sure that we can actually see that our dollars are being spent appropriately and for what they said that they were going to be spent for.
So in terms of the reimbursement, I guess I do wonder if an entity doesn't have significant amount of operating revenue on hand and they are being asked to basically pay some of these costs up front, pay most of the costs up front. Are these entities going to be able to do that without incurring significant debt?
So they should be able to. We've done this. Well, I'm saying we, in the fact of Summit County Public Health does this with their Medicaid grant. And so they give a little bit upfront. So they give a month's upfront, and then from there they go ahead and you reimburse basically a month after or 2 weeks after. But just as long as we have the data available to show that you're doing exactly what you have stated that you're supposed to be doing. We don't want to be caught up into a situation where we release these funds and then we have to come back and have receipts and they don't have the receipts. So, it's the normal, we do this with our CBDG grant funding. That's all reimbursement. It's not, they don't even get it up front. We're being a little bit more lenient in this piece right now.
Sure. And then the 1.3 million, that's for how many grantees?
About 10 to 11.
Okay. And that's all funding for the 2022 year?
No. So we are still in the process of, we have other applications that have come in and they're at Guidehouse now being reviewed. When we have all of those, we will have the March 1st. So after March 1st, I will come back if Chairman Freeman allows me to, and I will say what we've deemed approved. And we would like to fund for in 2022.
Sure. I should have been a little bit more specific. I guess what I mean is, say, eye care mentoring through Red Oak receives $100,000 in March. Does that mean they might receive $100,000 next year for 2023? Yes. So once they've exhausted those funds and they've showed that they could expend those funds appropriately, then they will apply. They have the opportunity to renew. Okay. And then the final question for now, and sorry for so much, is I believe the total amount that's allocated right now for youth violence prevention is 10 million, right? That's correct. So, I guess I have a couple concerns. The first is that if we're spreading out the money among a number of different grantees, and thank you for sharing the applications. That was really helpful information to look at. If those entities are essentially increasing their operating budgets by, whatever, 30%, 50%, 100%, and I didn't see a lot in most of the applications about sustainability beyond 3 years. How is the city thinking about that? Are we thinking that, hey, we're going to seed money across 20 different initiatives over the next 3 years, and then in year 4, once ARPA is gone, we can figure out 1 or 2 of these that we can commit to long term, because we wouldn't want to see these services dry up after 3 years, certainly.
So what we're hoping is that the legacy organizations that we are funding will be sustained in the federal budget. They will get that money back. And when we come to the grassroots nonprofits, what we have talked to them about is being able to sustain themselves and thinking about that long term, because I want them to understand that this is not, we're not going to be able to fund you after this. So I've talked to them about that, and that's why we're not giving them $1 million up front right away, right? We want to make sure that they have all of the accounting in place, all of these different insurances in place. Everything needs to be in place so that they can sustain themselves. And that is part of what Alchemy's proposal was kind of about, is to help these organizations become sustainable as they have been. So not scaling up so much that you can't provide the same level of services to the community once this funding is gone.
I guess I understand that, but I guess, the reality is that, there is a certain limit of funds that's available for the community. And, it would seem prudent that we think through if the things we're funding are going to be critical parts of our youth violence prevention strategic plan going forward beyond 3 years, we should be thinking through what support the city will provide beyond 3 years in that space, because many of these organizations simply may not be able to find alternative sources of funding beyond 3 years.
I understand, and that's a point well taken, Councilman Malik.
Thank you.
Ms. Amobian, please.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. A number of my questions are very similar to what was just asked. Let me ask you this. What are you give me an example of an agency's outcomes that you're looking for, and how we as a city can help these individuals, because I think ultimately we're looking for programs to be sustainable so they can help us with this violence problem that we're having in the city. So can you give me an example of what we're doing going forward? Because that would be my concern as well, is that we're helping to create opportunities for agencies to help us with a very serious problem. And then what are we doing as a city and as a group, whoever these individuals are who are interviewing and reviewing and all of that, these groups, to help them become sustainable, because that is the primary goal of all of this.
So, Councilwoman Amobian, at this time, I do not have a clean cut, dry answer for you. We have hired a youth and community opportunity ambassador to assist me in those efforts, and we will be working closely with Summit County Public Health, as they are our partner in the Youth Violence Prevention Strategic Plan. And we will look at national dollars, so National League of Cities, other organizations, to help sustain these in the future. We understand that these ARPA dollars are not going to be the panacea, but we want to get people on the ground level to start going forward. I think that after a little bit of time goes by, we can ascertain, and that's why we're not giving any organization $1 million up front. So I think that we understand, and I understand where you're coming from. I just don't have a clear-cut answer for you right now. I think that's where we come to council to help you, for you to help us develop a plan going forward. Any ideas are welcome.
That's why I think we all need to be in the room together to kind of brainstorm this. But let me ask you this then. The organizations that are selected, and if they are approved after this process they have to go through, they will be guaranteed money from Arpa over those next, 3 years? 24, 25, 26?
They are not guaranteed. They will.
Depending on the outcomes that they're meeting.
Yes.
Okay.
And they will have to meet with us on a, I'm thinking it's going to be a monthly basis, just as we do with National League of Cities from the funding that we receive from them. We meet with them on a monthly basis. And then going forward, they have a quarterly reporting for us. So we will be working with them and providing them with, for lack of a better term, professional development to help them become sustainable.
Mr. Chair, just another question. I'm trying to figure out how to phrase this question. With regard to these organizations, do they represent or are they tapping into the entire city? Are they pulling their clientele from different parts of the city? Do we know how they plan to generate their clients?
Most of these organizations are already in existence. And so they already have a core group. They are from different zip codes around the city. And so I don't see that they will be pulling from the same exact location or school. I do know that they will be working together. And if there is an opportunity for one group to, if a child or a youth is not getting what they need in one program, they have agreed to talk and coordinate, just as we do in full term first birthday. As one program does not offer the services for a mother, they do share and talk about those different things to help that person in their time of need.
And just, this is my final one. So if there's one person who is getting services, because fortunately or unfortunately, sometimes there are multiple agencies involved with the same family, the same client, is there a way to track that?
We will be working with SCI, the United Way, and other organizations to make sure that we are tracking appropriately.
Yeah, I just want us to touch as many as we can, and hopefully people won't be providing services to the same group, because we know the need is overwhelming. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Mosley.
Thank you, Chairman Freeman. Tamika, I have a few questions. Is it possible for us to get an email copy of those applicants who were approved for the first round? Is my first question. I see the email from Joan about the criteria for the application, so I'll read through that as well. I know that you said these are the ones who had met the criteria to be selected. So those organizations that did not meet the criteria, have they been contacted so that maybe they can revise their application since there's a March deadline?
So of all of the individuals that applied after we went live with the application, and I asked everyone to reapply, all of those applications, all of those individuals that read the notice of opportunity and applied, they all were approved. So there is no one that at this point in time that has not been. And if they are, then letters will go out after this council meeting later today or later sometime this week if they are not approved. We have to work through some things around a couple of because Alchemy and Big Brothers Big Sisters will be doing the same exact thing. So I'm just trying to work through that piece. But and if you guys have any opportunity, I will wait to send out those letters. Dr. Williams does have all of their applications, so she can forward them over to you. So there's no one that has, everyone has had the opportunity. I think there were some people that came forward during the Guidehouse presentations at your award meetings, and they have had opportunity to speak with Guidehouse directly and have either taken the time to get themselves together to apply, but they have not, no one has submit. I mean, at this point in time, there's no one that has been deemed no. And if they were told no, Guidehouse expressed that to them. And if you would like to know about that, I can forward that email to you too.
Okay, if you could. And then just two more. You said this is the first round. How many rounds are there? Like, say by the time we get to March, you get, inundated with applicants. How are you, do you guys have something in place? Since these are the ones that are clearly already in the process of receiving funds. So if you have a March deadline and you get inundated with more applications, is there a metric that you all are using for that to offset that? You see what I'm saying?
To offset it, I mean, we're going to look and see. I mean, we don't necessarily have a metric to date. I think we, as most of you, we want to make sure that we are available to as many children as possible. And so if they have an opportunity and a plan to put forth that they're going to reach children that are not going to be reached by Fallen Fathers, the Williams Challenge, Dreams Academy, then we will, if it is eligible, we will go ahead and approve them. I think that once we get together with Summit County Public Health, they have been inundated with COVID and they reached back out and they want to work together closely around this. We will have a more concrete answer for your question.
Okay, my last final question was, you mentioned that there's a youth and a community ambassador. Who's that ambassador?
I believe so that person will be Danico Buckley Knight. He will start on March 1st. He is working at the United Way right now as a community resource specialist.
What's the name again?
Danico Buckley Knight.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. I'll go to Mr. Neal, please.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Thank you for the presentation, Ms. Rose. I know our concern is about sustainability. And I wonder, when we talk about sustainability, with the plan, was anything done to kind of look at the present bone structure we have within our city? By that, I mean, we have within the city park and rec programs that reach youth consistently, and we know those age groups. We have organizations that use our ballparks, football fields, soccer fields, whatnot, that demographic. I don't see any of those here. Then we have, our schools and our libraries that have programs. Those have, when I say bones, meaning they have buildings that they meet in, they have organizational structure and families that they already reach, that these organizations could possibly, service in between their seasons. Now we're creating sort of like a wraparound support that could be more, I'm looking at sustainable, because when I look at this, here's my question. A lot of those groups I know, they do excellent work, but there looks like there's gaps in age groups that are serviced. That's my first concern. So I'd like for us to get sort of like an asset map. I don't know if you did an asset map over the city on where these different organizations are right now and where different sports programs are, so we could get a map and see like if there's holes anywhere. And like maybe in one part of the city, they're great, but they're only servicing age groups, Pee-wee to up to 13, and after 13, there's nothing. Then maybe there's another area where they're just servicing girls, but not boys. If we could get an asset map to see what that looks like, so we can see where there may be holes. And then the other thing is, out of these groups, what areas of I heard you say East Side. I know Fallen Fathers of Dreams Academy service a certain part of the West Side and whatnot. But again, where are their holes? I mean, our schools are excellent because we know if we go to a school what the demographic is, but how are they being serviced? So I'd love to see that asset map so we can see where people are, because this is the real thing. I love right now, that's what we always do is fund programs. And again, these programs are excellent. But I believe it is our calling to create an institutionalized infrastructure, a new infrastructure that supports not only these organizations, but the demographics that they serve as well. And that's one of the challenges. When you service the programs, there's nothing left for the infrastructure. And I like using this example. It's like we're giving everybody a brand new supercomputer, but we don't upgrade the network, or we don't even have a network for all that to be supported. So that's what I'd like to see, an asset map, so we can see how we can support you and these organizations to make this work sustainable. And there's some other partners in there that, the libraries network and what they do, juvenile court, children's services. I don't see the dots being connected. And that's what I would like to see so we could get an idea. And then I want to join my colleague, Ms. Amobian. When I looked at all the people looking at these programs, again, council was left out. I understand you had council leadership, but that does not, they know their wards, possibly, but they don't know the rest of our wards. And nowhere in this process is there a place for council to have input and see, we may know of some pieces that can help fill a hole in that asset map.
I thank you for your comment, Councilman Neal. I can tell you, in addition to working closely with Summit County Public Health, we are also working closely with Akron Public Schools and the GAR Foundation and the United Way. And we are looking towards creating exactly what you just said. It will take time. And Summit County and Summit Education Initiative. So we understand that there are gaps, and we will be working towards creating that. I can't say it's going to happen immediately. I think once the Youth and Opportunity Court ambassador comes on board, we will have a person that is dedicated to creating that infrastructure and implementing the youth violence prevention strategic plan.
All right, Mr. Neal, your hand's still up. I didn't know if you had another.
I do, sir, but I'm back at the end of the line now.
Okay, okay. Miss Holland, please.
Thank you, Chairman Freeman, and thank you, Ms. Rose. It's a very helpful presentation that you gave us. I feel that my questions are a natural companion to some of the questions and some of your answers to Councilman Neal. I think that what I am wanting is something akin to this idea of an asset map. And I guess what I'm wanting to know from you, if you know, have we narrowed in on the idea that we hope to provide, and I'm just going to select a category here, for example, after school mentoring programs for all school-age children within a certain range within Akron? Is that the goal?
I think that's the goal for the city of Akron and Akron Public Schools, and we have a meeting set up later this month to see where we can coalesce and collaborate a little bit more. So I think that will come. I think that this is something that we had started in 2019. We weren't able to hire the coordinator. And so now that we have someone that will be solely dedicated to this, the things that you guys are asking for will be brought about within the next 180 to the end of this year, 180 days, 365. So just give us a little bit of time. We will start to create those things and move forward over the next 3 to 5 years.
Super helpful. Thanks. I just wanted to make sure I was understanding that one of the things that we're all visioning here is that in the not too distant future, all school children, and again, I'm making an assumption, and I guess I want to check it, whether private school children or public school children would at least theoretically have access to these after-school mentoring programs, because we are looking at this holistically, that we're looking at the city of Akron and sort of an interception of kids at a particular stage, offering them support that may or may not otherwise be available to them. So we'll get an idea of what that targeted age group is and what the available resources are and where they're located before too long.
Yes.
Correct?
Yes, and it's not just mentoring. There's other things that organizations could put forth, like parenting skills, things of that nature to help decrease violence in our community. There's a lot of different things in addition to mentoring and after-school programs. So I think that once you look over the eligibility criteria that Dr. Williams sent over, if you have any of those organizations in your wards, please feel free to send them to the website and apply for the grant, because we're looking forward to filling all of the gaps. We can't create them all here in City Hall.
Indeed. And to your point, what we know and have known for a very long time in the world of child development and social science is that children benefit from the quality engagement of adults in their lives. And this is a great, great opportunity to steer the course of the future for Akron. So thanks for the work you're doing.
Thank you.
Thank you. And let me come around again to Mr. Malik.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. First, just want to say I know how much this work means to you, Ms. Rose. Like Ms. Holland, I really appreciate the amount of work that has gone into this.
Thank you.
The one I think a lot of folks echo the point, so I won't make it about making sure that we coordinate with Akron Public Schools, and you made the point with Summit County Public Health and all of those partners who were involved in the Youth Violence Strategic Plan. Everyone has to play their role. But the point that I wanted to make was more about human capital. I think we all recognize that we're limited in financial resources, but I think there's clearly this is clearly the most concerning issue before Akron right now is safety and violence. And so I really think that we need to be asking every person in this city how they are able to plug into this work. And every person has a responsibility. Every person should have an opportunity to plug in. And like you were saying, a lot of these things that we're going to be funding, they require volunteers, whether it's teaching people about life skills, whether it's mentoring them, whether it's providing other kinds of trainings or other opportunities. And so I think we really ought to be looking at challenging everyone in all of our wards to find, putting together ways that they can get involved, because that's how we're going to tackle this beyond the funds.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Malik. Mr. Neal?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. This is, one thing we've never had the opportunity to do is to sit down with First Together and within ourselves answer some of these questions, because we each know our ward, we know what resources are there, and see how we can make things sustainable. One of the things that I know that's going to help these programs, because most of us know when we talk about wraparound support, it's one thing to deal with the youth within the program, but you also got to understand, what their home situation is like, what their community situation is like, and that takes resources. So as council, we're getting ready to vote on our capital budget, moving to our operating budget, understanding how these ARPA funds are being used and everything. We need to look at how do we first equally and then equitably have money to invest into that infrastructure within our wards. That's independent of these programs. These programs in and of themselves, we will not be able to leverage the full support if we do not have the infrastructure out in the community to support this. And that's the piece that's missing when we're not at the table talking about this, so that we could put that part in the budget. So I'm hoping that, we haven't had a chance to do a review on how we all use our $100,000. and measure that impact. But going into this, I just think we missed the boat if we don't have that piece in place and we just put these organizations out there, because ultimately what we're doing is we're just supercharging what we already do. And I'm just going to say, let's look at LeBron. LeBron understood from his own life experience that it's not enough to pour everything into the school and then you send the children home to a community that's ravaged with maybe crime, drugs, or they're latchkey children, there's nothing to support them. Or you send them to a great basketball program and then they go home and they're hungry. That's where we need to provide each ward with the resources. And when given this asset map, we'll see what's missing in our ward, what needs to be put there. But I'm telling you right now, to ask our communities to make brick without straw doesn't work any longer. That's why we created the Akron City Council, My Neighborhood, our Akron City Council Neighborhood Grant, because we were constantly asking organizations to do things and there were no resources that we were providing for them to do it. So as a part of passing this, we need to have a portion in our operating budget that gives each ward where the councilman can work with those other groups that may support, or community volunteers that need a little boost to support these agencies, if we're fortunate enough to have any of these agencies that we're talking about actually service our ward.
All right, thank you, Mr. Neal. Ms. Rose, maybe a conversation we could have offline. I mean, I know with a lot of nonprofits, they're so focused on mission that there really is not a lot of attention given to development. And I do know, in the Akron area, we have an association of fundraising professionals. We have several different venues. I'm just wondering if a part of the process might be for us, not necessarily to require, but to encourage them that this is a great time to become, financial builders of their own work. And because as it's been said, sustainability is a concern. And no, city's not going to be able to sustain all these programs, but there are some real good opportunities for these directors of programs or the associate director of a program to become more adept at fundraising and development. So might be a conversation to have somewhere along the line.
Okay, great. Thank you.
Any other questions or comments? All right. And Ms. Rose, you definitely will be invited back for our next. I'm just curious, do you have any idea from how many hours an organization, how many hours is invested just to vet one organization?
I don't know. It depends on the organization, honestly.
Right. Well, and I know obviously we've hired some partners to help us with that.
Yeah.
But it's not a light decision. It's not a decision that's made without a lot of thinking.
No.
I know that. So
No.
well, thank you. Are there any other questions or comments? Okay. If not, Ms. Rose, is that
That's
what
all
we
I
have?
have today.
Okay, very good. Well, thank you very much. And
Thank you.
it's exciting to see this progressing along and to see what's happening. And we will look forward to continuing to have these kind of meetings here.
Okay, thank you very much.
Thank you. If we have nothing else to come before us, we will adjourn at 3:44 p.m. Thanks, everyone, for your comments and questions.
This is the final committee meeting of the day. Council will meet at 7 p.m. tonight.